Evelyn, at 72, stood in the middle of her living room, overwhelmed by stacks of papers, books, and keepsakes she hadn't touched in years. She'd always believed that to declutter, you had to part with everything. But what if that wasn't true? Over the years, she'd learned a few surprising lessons that turned her clutter chaos into a space that truly served her. If you've ever wondered if decluttering could really be simple, or if you too have fallen for the myths that keep your home messy, you're not alone. In this guide, we'll debunk 18 of the most common decluttering myths, providing you with practical, senior-friendly solutions that will not only transform your home, but also bring you peace of mind. Ready to break free from the clutter traps? Let's dive into myth number 1. 1. You need to get rid of everything to declutter. Evelyn once thought that decluttering meant saying goodbye to all the things she had spent a lifetime collecting. Her home, filled with photos, trinkets, and souvenirs, was a reflection of her rich life, a history she wasn't ready to part with. It felt like the only way to truly declutter was to let go of everything. But one day, after sorting through a box of old postcards from her travels, Evelyn had an epiphany. She didn't need to part with every item to create space. What she needed was to rethink her approach. The truth is, decluttering doesn't mean getting rid of everything that brings you joy. It's about finding balance and creating a space that serves you. Instead of seeing every item as disposable, focus on what matters most. Start with this simple approach. Identify the objects in your home that truly bring you happiness or serve a purpose. Ask yourself, does this item make me smile, remind me of a cherished moment, or serve me in a practical way today? If yes, keep it. If not, it's okay to part with it. You don't have to be a minimalist to enjoy an organized space. Evelyn discovered that by shifting her mindset, she could keep her treasures while still feeling more at ease in her home. It wasn't about losing things. It was about making room for what was most important to her. Whether it's a photo album of your grandchildren or a vase passed down from your mother, holding on to meaningful items can bring comfort and nostalgia, but don't let them weigh you down. 2. Decluttering means throwing away everything. For a while, Evelyn believed decluttering meant tossing out everything she didn't use regularly. The idea of discarding old clothes, books, and even unused kitchen gadgets made her anxious. Every item seemed to carry a piece of her story, and she couldn't fathom throwing them away. But what if there was another way? What if she didn't need to throw everything away, but simply repurpose or donate the items that no longer served her? One afternoon, while tackling a drawer full of unused kitchen utensils, Evelyn found herself face to face with a set of beautifully crafted teacups she had never used. They were a gift from her sister many years ago. She was struck by the idea of giving them new life. What if they could be shared with someone who would cherish them? The moment she decided to donate the cups to a local charity, she felt a sense of relief wash over her. She wasn't discarding memories. She was passing them on. Here's the key. Decluttering doesn't have to mean throwing things away. Instead, think of donating or repurposing the items that no longer serve you. Passing along something with sentimental value can bring joy to someone else while lightening your load. When you declutter, focus on finding ways to give things a second life, whether it's donating to charity, giving to friends or family, or even repurposing items for creative projects around the house. The emotional benefit? You don't have to feel guilty. By sharing with others, you're enriching their lives while honoring your own memories. And in the process, you create space for fresh opportunities in your home and in your life. 3. You have to declutter all at once. Evelyn tried the all-at-once approach. She had heard that decluttering could be a quick fix, spend a weekend cleaning, and your home would be transformed. But after several hours of intense sorting, she found herself feeling exhausted and overwhelmed. The task seemed endless, and the clutter just wouldn't go away. The truth is, decluttering isn't about one big sweep. It's about making progress little by little. Evelyn soon realized that by breaking up the task into smaller, manageable chunks, she could still get the results she desired without burning out. Start small. Perhaps tackle just one drawer or one shelf at a time. Don't try to clear an entire room in one go. Set a timer for 15 or 20 minutes and focus on that task alone. When the timer goes off, take a break. You'll find that by chipping away at the clutter each day, it's far more manageable and even enjoyable. Evelyn now takes it one room at a time, one item at a time. And instead of feeling defeated, she feels accomplished, knowing she's making steady progress. The emotional benefit? You'll experience less stress and more satisfaction from completing each small task. It's about embracing the journey, not forcing the destination. 4. Decluttering is only for the young and energetic. When Evelyn first started her decluttering journey, she was intimidated by the thought that it was something meant only for the young and physically capable. She thought to herself, how could I, at my age, possibly move all this furniture or lift heavy boxes? Decluttering is a young person's game. But as she took a closer look at her home, she realized that she didn't need to replicate someone else's version of decluttering. The real truth is that decluttering can be tailored to your unique needs and abilities. You don't have to work for hours on end or exhaust yourself to see results. In fact, slow and steady wins the race, especially when you approach it with patience and care. Start by focusing on small tasks, things you can do sitting down or standing in place. Perhaps begin by organizing a bookshelf, sorting through a box of old papers, or tidying up a desk. Decluttering doesn't need to be a physical marathon. Use your energy efficiently by breaking tasks into smaller chunks that you can accomplish at your own pace. Evelyn found that having the right tools helped too. Using a lightweight box or a rolling cart made sorting easier and less physically demanding. And while she initially felt frustrated that she couldn't do it all at once, she soon realized that even a few minutes of organizing each day made a noticeable difference. The emotional benefit? It's not about how fast you declutter. It's about feeling empowered and in control of your space, no matter your age. Remember, it's perfectly okay to ask for help or rely on adaptive tools that fit your needs. Decluttering is about your comfort, not how quickly or intensely you can work. By going at your own pace, you'll feel not only a sense of accomplishment, but also the satisfaction of knowing you're caring for your space in a way that works best for you. 5. I'll regret getting rid of things, nay. The thought of parting with anything, especially sentimental items, can be overwhelming. Evelyn certainly understood this. After all, each object seemed to tell a story. A pair of earrings from her late husband, a faded scarf from her travels, or a well-worn cookbook that had been passed down for generations. Could she really part with all these pieces of her past? But after several weeks of thinking it over, Evelyn had an important realization. The memories weren't tied to the physical objects. They lived within her heart and mind. The key, she learned, was making the distinction between sentimental value and the practical purpose of an item in her life today. Instead of feeling guilty about letting go, Evelyn began focusing on creating new memories rather than holding on to old things. She took a picture of her husband's favorite chair before donating it to a local charity, preserving the memory in her heart and in a photograph. The cookbook was passed down to her daughter, who loved cooking just as much as she did, ensuring it would continue to be appreciated for generations to come. Here's a tip to help manage this process. Start small with sentimental items. Choose one or two things that are most meaningful to you, and decide whether they should stay in your home or be passed along to someone who can benefit from them. Letting go of things doesn't mean you're letting go of the memory. In fact, when you stop hoarding items out of fear of regret, You allow yourself to truly enjoy the memories in a new, healthier way. Evelyn's journey showed her that, rather than feeling regret, she could feel a sense of peace and lightness. The emotional benefit here? You're honoring the past without being weighed down by it. Each step forward in this process is a step toward freedom. Freedom from the clutter that no longer serves you, and freedom to embrace new memories. 6. Decluttering means my house should always look perfect. When Evelyn first heard the word decluttering, she thought it meant creating a pristine, spotless space, one that looked like a magazine cover. She was worried about what others would think if her home wasn't perfectly arranged and immaculate. She imagined that guests would judge her if her house had a bit of mess. But as she took time to reflect, she realized that perfection isn't the goal. Comfort and functionality are. Over time, Evelyn embraced the idea that her home didn't need to be flawless. What truly mattered was that it was functional, inviting, and a reflection of her personality. It wasn't about impressing others. It was about feeling at ease in her space. She began to embrace imperfections as part of her home's charm. A slightly crooked painting on the wall, a stack of books by the armchair. These little quirks made her house feel lived in, real, and comfortable. Start by shifting your expectations of what a perfect home looks like. Instead of obsessing over every corner being spotless, focus on creating a home that reflects who you are and what makes you feel relaxed. Don't stress over small imperfections. They add warmth and character to your space. In Evelyn's case, this meant keeping a few cherished items out in plain sight. The mismatched mugs from her favorite local cafe, the hand-woven throw blanket she'd knitted, and even the slight clutter on the kitchen counter that signaled daily life. What mattered wasn't the absence of clutter, but the comfort that clutter could bring when it was thoughtfully kept. The emotional benefit. When you stop chasing perfection, you free yourself from the anxiety of always keeping things just so. Your home becomes a sanctuary, authentic, comfortable, and uniquely yours. And most importantly, it will feel like home, not a display case. 7. Decluttering is expensive. I need to buy special organizers. Evelyn had often seen the sleek, organized homes on television shows, complete with pristine organizers and fancy storage bins. The notion of decluttering seemed to come with the requirement to buy expensive containers, labels, and gadgets. At first, she felt disheartened. Could she afford all those storage solutions? She also wasn't sure where to find the space for it all. But as she looked around her home, Evelyn had a realization. You don't need to buy a thing to declutter. One afternoon, while going through her kitchen drawers, she spotted several empty glass jars and old shoeboxes. Instead of letting them collect dust, she decided to repurpose them. The jars became perfect storage containers for spices, and the shoeboxes worked wonders for organizing small kitchen tools. Simple, everyday items can do the trick. No need to spend money on new products that promise to fix everything. To get started without overspending, think about what you already have at home. Old baskets, cardboard boxes, and even large coffee cans can be used for organizing. Check out your pantry for containers you can recycle, or your linen closet for unused bags or totes that can double as storage. The goal is not perfection, but creating a home that is comfortable and functional without adding extra expenses. Evelyn quickly realized that repurposing what she already owned didn't just save money. It gave her a deeper sense of satisfaction. She felt proud to use things she had collected over the years, keeping her space functional and eco-friendly. The emotional benefit? It's not about having the latest trends. It's about making your space work for you. The process was more personal and meaningful because she was using her creativity and being resourceful. And that, she thought, was something to be proud of. 8. I'll never find the time to declutter. The idea of finding time to declutter always seemed impossible to Evelyn. She had plenty of things on her plate: family visits, doctor appointments, tending to her garden, and staying on top of the household chores. How could she possibly squeeze decluttering into her already packed schedule? But the truth Evelyn discovered was that you don't need hours to make progress. She started by setting aside just 10 minutes each day. It seemed insignificant, but in those short bursts of time, Evelyn was able to make noticeable improvements. One day, she tidied her entryway in less than 15 minutes. Another day, she organized a drawer that had been a catch-all for years. Small tasks made a big difference over time. Set a timer for short bursts of focused decluttering. Instead of waiting for the perfect time, incorporate small, manageable decluttering sessions into your daily routine. Maybe while waiting for your morning tea to brew, tackle a small pile of papers. Or during a commercial break, sort through a few kitchen drawers. These short, intentional moments will add up to significant progress over time, and before you know it, you'll start feeling lighter and more organized. Evelyn found that decluttering didn't have to be a massive, time-consuming task. It was about making space, both physically and mentally, bit by bit. The emotional benefit? You can make progress even when you don't have hours to dedicate. This approach not only eased her stress, but also gave her a sense of accomplishment, knowing she was actively creating the peaceful, organized space she desired. 9. Decluttering means having a minimalist home. Evelyn was initially intimidated by the term decluttering because she thought it meant she'd have to drastically reduce her belongings, becoming a minimalist. The idea of living in a home with bare walls, a sparse living room, and very few personal touches didn't sit right with her. She loved her eclectic collection of vintage furniture, family portraits, and colorful rugs. How could she declutter without losing the heart and soul of her home? But over time, Evelyn came to understand that decluttering doesn't have to mean minimalism. It's about keeping the things that truly add value to your life while getting rid of what no longer serves you. She didn't need to strip her home down to bare essentials. What mattered was making sure every item had a purpose and brought her joy. Evelyn's home wasn't sterile or empty. It was simply organized in a way that worked for her. She found space for the things she loved while getting rid of the excess that created unnecessary stress. Instead of throwing away beloved mementos, she created designated spots for them that helped maintain her home's warm, lived-in feel. The key was to curate your belongings, to hold on to the items that hold true meaning and practical value, while eliminating the clutter that detracted from your space's beauty and functionality. The emotional benefit? It's not about less. It's about more of what you love. You don't need to strip away your personality, memories, or treasured items to create a decluttered, peaceful home. Instead, you simply focus on what adds value to your life. Evelyn learned that decluttering could be a way to enhance her home, not erase its character. 10. You need to declutter alone. It's my personal project. Evelyn spent several years trying to declutter by herself, believing it was a personal project she needed to tackle alone. After all, who could understand her attachments to things better than she could? But the reality was, as she sifted through memories and sentimental objects, she realized how much easier it would be to have someone by her side for support. It wasn't about having someone do the work for her. It was about having company during a process that could be emotional, overwhelming, and sometimes lonely. She finally reached out to her daughter, who was more than happy to help her with the task. Together, they sorted through boxes of old photographs, childhood toys, and family heirlooms. Evelyn's daughter didn't judge her for wanting to keep certain items. Instead, she listened and helped her make decisions about which items to pass down or donate. Decluttering doesn't have to be a solo effort. The emotional benefit? Having someone to share the process with lightens the load. both physically and emotionally. Not only did Evelyn feel supported, but she also felt empowered by the sense of teamwork and connection. And in turn, her daughter found joy in spending quality time with her while preserving precious memories. If you're feeling overwhelmed, consider asking a trusted friend, family member, or caregiver for help. It's not about losing control over the process. It's about feeling supported and creating a space that's both functional and emotionally fulfilling. 11. I can't declutter because I have too many memories attached to my things. Evelyn had always believed that every item in her home carried a memory, a piece of her life she wasn't ready to let go of. From the teddy bear her daughter once hugged tightly during thunderstorms to the framed painting her late husband had picked out during their honeymoon, her home was filled with stories. The idea of parting with any of these items seemed impossible, because how could she preserve the memories if she wasn't holding on to the physical items? But over time, Evelyn realized that memories don't live in the objects. They live in you. She began to understand that letting go of physical things didn't mean losing the memories attached to them. In fact, by creating space in her home, she could feel more connected to the past and more free to embrace the present. One afternoon, Evelyn decided to create a memory box, a simple, small container where she could store mementos that truly meant the most to her. Instead of keeping everything, she focused on the items that brought the strongest memories, like the delicate lace handkerchief from her wedding day or a hand-painted mug her son made in kindergarten. By keeping just a few key pieces, Evelyn was able to hold on to her precious memories without feeling burdened by the weight of too much. Here's a tip. If you're struggling with sentimental attachments, start by creating a memory book or album for photos, notes, or small keepsakes. Rather than keeping an entire box full of items, condense the memories into something manageable that still allows you to reflect on the past. The emotional benefit? You can preserve your memories without the emotional weight of keeping every single item. Letting go of things doesn't erase the past. It just makes room for you to live fully in the present. 12. Decluttering is only about getting rid of physical items. When Evelyn thought of decluttering, she always imagined sorting through piles of old clothes, unused furniture, and outdated kitchen gadgets. But as she started to declutter, she realized that it wasn't just about physical items. It was also about mental and emotional clutter. Her home was filled with reminders of stress, old bills, unfinished projects, and unresolved tasks that weighed heavily on her mind. Evelyn discovered that clearing out physical clutter was only part of the process. Mental clutter was just as much of a barrier to creating a peaceful home. The clutter in her mind, from anxieties about the future to the constant to-do list, was preventing her from fully enjoying her space. It was time to declutter her thoughts and emotions as well. Start by taking a few moments each day to clear your mind. Perhaps a few minutes of meditation or simply sitting in a quiet space with a cup of tea can help you reset. Consider writing down the things that are cluttering your mind in a journal. This practice will help you gain clarity and perspective. Another helpful technique is to prioritize tasks that have been lingering in the back of your mind. Tackle one small thing each day, whether it's returning a phone call, finishing a project, or organizing a drawer. The more you address the mental clutter, the easier it will be to focus on physical decluttering. Evelyn began to feel lighter as she addressed both the physical and emotional aspects of decluttering. The emotional benefit? By clearing mental clutter, you create a sense of calm and clarity that makes it easier to tackle the tangible clutter in your home. It's like a breath of fresh air for both your mind and your space. 13. Decluttering requires large bins and extra storage. Evelyn had often found herself looking at home organization blogs, which suggested fancy bins, clear plastic containers, and adjustable shelving to maintain order. At first, she felt discouraged. How could she afford all that? And even if she could, where would she put it all? The idea of buying a bunch of storage products just didn't seem realistic for her. But Evelyn soon realized that decluttering doesn't require fancy bins or endless storage solutions. The key to an organized home isn't about the latest products. It's about being creative with the space and items you already have. For example, Evelyn used old wooden crates she had stashed away in her garage to organize her gardening supplies. She repurposed shoeboxes to organize office supplies and even created a small storage area beneath her bed using fabric baskets she found at a local store. The trick was using what she already had, rather than seeking out expensive storage solutions. Here's a tip. Think of decluttering as an exercise in creativity. Instead of going out and buying new organizers, explore your home for items that can serve a functional purpose. Old boxes, baskets, or even empty jars can be used to create organized spaces. You don't need to spend money to feel more organized. The emotional benefit? By using what you already own, you empower yourself to take control of your space without adding financial pressure. Not only will this approach be kinder to your budget, but it will also give you a sense of satisfaction in finding solutions with what you have. Plus, it's a great way to reduce waste and give old items new life. 14. Decluttering has to be done in a weekend. Evelyn, like many people, had always assumed that decluttering needed to be a quick weekend project. She'd heard others talk about weekend cleaning marathons and felt like she should follow suit. However, after several attempts to declutter her entire house in one go, Evelyn found herself overwhelmed and exhausted. She quickly realized that this approach wasn't sustainable, especially considering her energy levels and how much time she had available. Instead of expecting instant results, Evelyn started breaking her decluttering tasks into manageable chunks. One day, she focused on just one drawer. The next, she tackled a small area of the living room. By spreading out the process over weeks, rather than cramming it all into one weekend, Evelyn found herself feeling less stressed and more accomplished. Here's how you can do it too. Choose one small space each day or each week, whether it's a drawer, a countertop, or a shelf, and spend 15 to 20 minutes organizing it. You don't need to get everything done in a weekend. The process becomes less daunting when you approach it step by step, and it's much easier to maintain when you keep things manageable. Evelyn's emotional benefit? She didn't feel rushed or overwhelmed. She was able to enjoy the process at her own pace. Plus, each small step forward made her feel more in control of her space, and that sense of control and progress was its own reward. 15. Decluttering doesn't apply if I'm not moving. Evelyn had never considered decluttering a priority. After all, she wasn't planning on moving anytime soon. She figured it was only something necessary for people who were downsizing or relocating. Why bother tidying up if she wasn't going anywhere? But as time went on, Evelyn noticed how much the clutter around her affected her ability to enjoy her home. The piles of magazines, mismatched kitchen tools, and a cluttered hallway made her feel unsettled. The turning point came when she realized that decluttering isn't just for moving. It's about creating a peaceful environment where you live right now. You deserve to feel comfortable and relaxed in the space you call home, and that can only happen when it's organized in a way that works for you. Evelyn's clutter wasn't just a collection of things. It was a source of constant stress. Getting rid of things she didn't need wasn't just about physical space. It was about making room for peace of mind. Start by rethinking your space with fresh eyes. Even if you're not moving, consider how you can improve the flow of your home. Is there a cluttered corner that causes stress every time you walk by? Are there old items you've been holding on to just in case? The goal is to create a home that supports you, not a collection of things you no longer need. The emotional benefit? Decluttering to improve your current living space can bring a sense of comfort and control. Evelyn found that by freeing herself from the excess, her home felt less chaotic and more calming. You don't need to wait for a big life change to make your home the peaceful retreat you deserve. 16. Decluttering is a one-time job. When Evelyn first started decluttering, she assumed it was something she could do once and then forget about. After several long weekends spent organizing, she thought her house would remain tidy forever. But soon after, she realized that decluttering isn't a one-time job. It's an ongoing process. As the weeks passed, clutter crept back into her home, making her wonder if she had done something wrong. The truth is, life is messy, and that's okay. It's easy for things to pile up over time. Evelyn learned that decluttering is about establishing habits that make it easier to maintain an organized home. She didn't need to take on a massive task every few months. Instead, she began creating small, manageable routines that kept clutter at bay. Start by setting a small daily habit for tidying up. Maybe it's making your bed every morning, wiping down kitchen counters after meals, or dedicating 10 minutes before bed to organizing one small area. These quick daily rituals prevent clutter from piling up and create a sustainable, organized environment. Evelyn found that incorporating these small habits into her routine gave her a sense of accomplishment and helped her stay on top of things. The emotional benefit? You'll feel more in control and less overwhelmed, knowing that maintaining your space is part of your everyday rhythm. It's not about perfection. It's about making your space work for you on a consistent basis. 17. Decluttering is always stressful, emotional, and overwhelming. Evelyn had heard from many people that decluttering was a stressful, emotional experience. She'd been told that it would be hard to part with items and that the process would be filled with anxiety and regret. She was already nervous about the whole thing, imagining a flood of emotions as she sorted through her belongings. However, when she actually began the process, she realized something important. Decluttering doesn't have to be stressful if you take it slow and honor your feelings. Yes, there are moments of emotion when parting with cherished items, but it doesn't have to be overwhelming. By breaking the task into smaller, manageable chunks, Evelyn learned that the process could actually be liberating. She started by tackling areas of her home that were less emotional, like the bathroom cabinets or a linen closet. Once she got into the rhythm of sorting, she was able to move on to more sentimental items with a clearer mind and less anxiety. A great tip is to give yourself permission to take breaks when needed. It's okay to step away from a difficult task if it becomes too much. You can always come back to it when you're ready. And if certain items are especially hard to part with, try taking photos of them before letting them go. That way, you can keep the memory without the physical clutter. The emotional benefit here? Decluttering becomes a way to let go of the past without feeling like you're losing it forever. As Evelyn discovered, the process can actually bring a sense of relief, freeing yourself from items that no longer serve you while keeping the memories that truly matter. 18. You have to follow strict rules to declutter. When Evelyn first started decluttering, she tried to follow every rule she'd read about online. There were so many guidelines. If you haven't used it in a year, get rid of it. Only keep things that spark joy. And don't hold on to anything that's not essential. While these rules may work for some people, Evelyn soon realized that there's no one-size-fits-all approach to decluttering. The rules were adding unnecessary pressure, and she felt like a failure when she didn't meet all of them. What she learned was that decluttering is a deeply personal process, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. It's about figuring out what works best for you and your lifestyle. Maybe you love keeping extra towels on hand for guests, or you enjoy collecting antiques. There's no need to follow someone else's decluttering philosophy. It's important to find what makes you feel comfortable and happy in your home. Start by creating your own set of rules, rules that fit your life. Think about what truly matters to you and focus on those things. You don't have to get rid of something just because it doesn't fit a particular rule. Instead, ask yourself, does this item improve my life or bring me joy? The emotional benefit? When you let go of strict rules, you give yourself permission to declutter on your terms, which can feel liberating. Decluttering doesn't have to be about following the right steps. It's about creating a home that supports your needs and makes you feel comfortable. Wow, look at you go. You've just tackled those decluttering myths like a pro. Now your home is not just a place to live, but a peaceful, organized haven. If you've got any tips or stories to share, drop them in the comments. Let's keep this decluttering party rolling. You've got this.